Hi there, everyone. Welcome. Thank you very much for joining me on this, my second LinkedIn live stream. I'm really thrilled to be here. And today I'm going to be talking about CoPilot. CoPilot is an AI tool which slots into the Microsoft 365 suite of productivity tools. And it effectively plugs ChatGPT in, which I'm sure you'll all be familiar with, to Microsoft 365 in layman's terms. Now, Microsoft very specifically say we've not put ChatGPT into M365. We have used the technology that ChatGPT is a generative large language model AI tool, and we have then used the learnings from that and put it into the Microsoft 365 suite and created Copilot. Now, there are going to be some similarities for those of you that have used Bing Chat, particularly with that and Copilot. But generally speaking, I do believe that it is a Microsoft written tool. It leans on ChatGPT and will feel very similar because it is a large language model AI. And you are effectively prompting it and telling it that you want it to do something and then getting an output from that. So I guess the first question is, well, Matt, why is this any better than ChatGPT? And it's simple. It's got access to all of your information and all of your data. Everything that you've ever put into Microsoft 365 becomes accessible to Copilot. So all of the documents that you ever wrote for a customer, all of the ticket information that you put into SharePoint, for example, all the sales orders that you put through Dynamics, all of that stuff becomes accessible to Copilot. And for anybody that follows me somewhat closely on LinkedIn, you'll see I actually produced this little diagram over here on this whiteboard, which I will just hold up for the camera. There we go. That gives you a pretty good illustration of how Copilot integrates with absolutely everything, right? And hopefully that is enough time for everybody to have a little study of that. And yeah, there we go. Let's just pop that back away over there. So Copilot effectively uses the Graph API to access a number of different applications across the Microsoft 365 suite. It then leverages all of the information that you have spent years creating and putting into your Microsoft tenant in order to give you very good, fast, reliable, and quality output. So if we just take a little step backward and we look at a bit of history about ChatGPT and about Microsoft. So ChatGPT is owned by a company called OpenAI. OpenAI started building ChatGPT, ironically, with a load of funding from Elon Musk because it was supposed to be an open platform. Microsoft have since come along and bought, I think it's about 30% or something like that of ChatGPT, of OpenAI. So they now own a large stake in the company, and that is why they are integrating this technology into M365. Now, if I were to go over to ChatGPT and give it a prompt and look for some output, I have to give it as much information as I possibly can to make it useful. So if I said, for example, write me a 500-word blog post on the best trainers you can buy, ChatGPT's got carte blanche to go off and do whatever it wants, basically, and kind of just come up with fanciful anything. If I say, write me a 500 word, 500 page, that'd be very long, wouldn't it? 500 word blog post on the Nike Air Max trainers, I want you to emphasize why they are better than a pair of ASICS trainers, how they can improve your speed and agility, and why they're exceptionally good for basketball players, for example. That would be a great prompt. And what Copilot is going to enable people to do is to not have to give all of that rich information over when they're prompting. So you're going to have the ability to just say a little bit less and it will come up with way, way, way more because you're going to have all the information that you need within your M365 tenant and it will be able to lean on that. And Microsoft call that grounding. I refer to it as context. So technical term, grounding, ChatGPT, immersed in your data. what I call it is context. Everything's contextualized. Let me give you a better example, a very visual example. So here is a little screenshot from Midjourney. Midjourney, for those of you that don't know, is an image editing tool similar to DALL-E. You go on to an app called Discord, you sign up, and you go and type in /imagine and then put in a prompt for what you want. So the prompt in this case is a handmade leather case for car insurance, driver's license, and other documents. Pretty vague, if you ask me. But actually, the images that come back are, pretty good. I would say for what the users asked for. Interestingly, it's chosen to display them all on this like wooden kind of table, and they all look vaguely similar. Now, if the person who generated this prompt had said something a little bit more specific, for example, a handmade leather case for car insurance, driver's license, and other documents. The case should be black. It should be closed with a zip. Please display it on a white table. That would give way more information and give a way better output. If that's what you're looking for, obviously you'd have to change the prompt as to make it fit your use case, right? And kind of make it fit what you wanted. But this is what I mean by context being absolutely everything. Context is key, and that goes back to what we were talking about just a second ago with Microsoft's grounding in your Microsoft 365 tenant data. So I'm just going to get that off of the screen and come back to full size. So now that we know that context is super important, why is Copilot going to be a massively game-changing tool? And it's because it's going to be immersed in your data the entire time. So if I prompt Copilot and say, much like that prompt did, I want a handmade leather case for car insurance and other documents, what Copilot will then do is it will go, well, okay, so that's what you want. I know your brand logo because that's all over SharePoint. I know that it's a triangle with some breaks in it, Elitech. I'm going to go and do that. And then maybe I'll put a fancy, use your font on the fascia of the wallet that I generate. Maybe I'll use some of your branding colors, for example, without you prompting it, because it's going to live in your data and know all of that rich contextual stuff. And if you've configured all of that properly and you've been on brand with your marketing and stuff, it's going to have all the information there, and it's going to be able to extrapolate that really quickly and really easily. And it's just one less step for a user. It's one friction point that's been removed in terms of their productivity, allowing them to just go, well, this is what I need. I need this for a brochure, or I need this for, whatever the use case is. There are so many, I can't even begin to think of all of them. And it's going to start generating really good content out of just what's already there. And the reason that it's so different from ChatGPT is ChatGPT has only just been allowed out to the internet. Like before that, it had a cutoff point of September 21, and it would say no. Anything older, might be September 22. Actually, sorry, my bad. And I can't get you any more information that's more up to date than that. That's it. That's your lot. Now that it's going out onto the internet, it can actually read web pages and digest information and give you a little bit more data that's more recent. However, that is nothing compared to being plugged in to your organization and immersed in all of your rich data. Now, that does obviously come with some challenges and some concerns, and I'll sort of address those a little bit later. So that's just one part of Copilot. That's for generating new content. What about generating or changing content that we already have and making it something different? So one of the things that I do quite a lot for businesses is I go in and I do audits of Microsoft 365 tenants. I then effectively health check them and come up with a summary report, which then goes out at the end of the engagement with some recommendations. A lot of the time, I will need to turn that into a few different things. It needs to be a full-on report for the person who is in charge of the IT infrastructure, so they can understand the nitty-gritty detail of what needs to be done and what I've done and why I flagged things. There needs to be a summary executive report for people that are less technical and more sort of board level, C-suite, etc. And then there usually needs to be a presentation deck. So I have to generate 3 pieces of content that are uh, all nuanced and a bit different, but all kind of based off of the same thing. And that's going to be my notes that I've taken from that engagement. And if you think about that, you can apply that to a load of different engagement types. And basically, anyone that's doing consulting will be needing to do that. Um, if imagine just for a second, you could just say to someone, "Here are my notes from this audit. Here's an example of the documents that I need to produce. Take my notes and produce this, this, and this." And that is what Copilot is apparently going to also be able to do. It's going to be able to take shorter-hand format of things like notes and turn them into full-blown documents based on other examples that you've created or fed the LLM. Um, which I just think is absolutely mind-blowing. If I could even just write the whole report and then say, right now from that, create me a summary report, and from the audit report, also create me a summary presentation in PowerPoint. And don't forget, unlike ChatGPT, because ChatGPT can do that, if you give it all of the text from a document and say, create me this, it will go and do it, but it will say in just text, slide one, bullet two. Copilot will go away and it will say, oh, okay, you've got a Word document which has got all this lovely content in it. Now I'm gonna open this up in PowerPoint and create a deck that looks great and is basically ready to go with a little bit of editing. Whereas ChatGPT will give you the content, it will give you the text, but it's not going to give you, a nice slide design or anything like that, because it just simply doesn't. It's not plugged into anything. It is just a text model. So I genuinely believe that this is going to be a game changing tool for people, because it's going to save so much time, so much time. I spend so much time writing documents like that for people. I just don't know why people wouldn't want to turn it on or enable it, to be honest. And what I'm saying to absolutely everybody at the moment is, it's in closed beta. It started out with 10 customers. It's now expanded out to 100, I think Microsoft have said. It's going to eventually get to a point where they're rolling it out to more and more businesses. If you get asked to enable Copilot and work on the beta program, just do it. Like, honestly, your users will thank you for it, because any business that isn't doing this is going to very quickly find themselves at a competitive disadvantage. I reckon that I could probably use Copilot as a virtual assistant to achieve 2, maybe 3 times the workload to what I would normally achieve in a day, which is just insane. You don't have to necessarily think about cutting people out of your organization as a cost cutting exercise because they're being so much more productive. What you have to think of is, what can they now do with their free time? I've already got these people, they're already working for me. We're already, 40, 50, 500, however many people you are. How can we now be even more creative with this? How can we generate more business? How can we sell more, do more, push more, and go further with exactly the same resources that we've got now? I think Copilot and LLMs are going to be the answer to that for a lot of people, but particularly Copilot in the context of this conversation. So one of the things that is going to bring up is that it is going to bring up a few security concerns, and I get it. It's a big thing. It's a big change, but you kind of already trust Microsoft with your data. It's all hosted on their infrastructure. It's all on their platform. And can anybody honestly say that they've read the terms of service? I haven't. I've like skimmed a couple couple bits. But unless you're a big enterprise organization with people that manage contracts day in, day out, because that's what they do, who work in procurement, you probably, most small businesses and even medium-sized businesses haven't studied that term of service in depth, I would imagine. So, there are already tools that Microsoft use to try and help suggest things. When you're writing an email, for example, in Outlook, and it starts suggesting or prompting the rest of your sentence, that's AI. It's worked out stuff from what you've written before. It's using the data that's in your tenant. Suggested documents, that's AI. Suggested preparation for a team meeting, that's AI. They're already scanning it, they're already looking at it. This is literally just going to be whether you turn on the feature that says, now go and make it a game changer, versus, oh no, we're scared of that. We don't want Microsoft reading our information, releasing it out into the wild. Whatever it is you're worried about. I I do get the concern. I do get the concern, but your data is already there and it is already being skimmed. It is already being analyzed. It is already being indexed. It's already being fed into a Microsoft AI machine somewhere, and Microsoft are, you know, churning their way through it. So I think from a concerns point of view, my only concern would be, how could your users abuse it? And I haven't really given that any thought, to be fair, or certainly very much thought. I think in terms of separacy of data, permissions to documents and things, obviously Copilot is going to have to respect all of that, because you wouldn't want a user to be able to ask, right, I want to see the company's public, pre-release public finance report for year end or whatever, and then leaking all of that out onto the internet. I'm sure that Microsoft have thought this out. There's been absolutely no publication of what the guardrails are going to be, how that's going to work, or what that's going to do. And obviously, there is this darker side to it of, how could users extract information and work around not having permissions to documents and stuff like that. I'm sure that must have been thought about, will have been thought about. And as more and more information about that comes out, I will start to, because obviously I've got a, security focus on what I do. I will start to let people know once I know about the changes that are coming up, and the guardrails and protection mechanisms that Microsoft are putting in place in order to facilitate that. So I hope we're doing. How are we doing for time? Yeah, we're doing pretty well for time. I hope everybody is sort of, on board. I'm super excited for Copilot. I think it's going to be an amazing technology. I think it could be, for some businesses, it could be the difference between just surviving and thriving. Because it's just going to give your users so much more time. It's going to free up so much time, especially people that do mundane or repetitive tasks. So let's talk just a little bit about use cases, and some practical things that you perhaps could do with this. I've already talked about, generating images and creating PowerPoint decks and manipulating documents and stuff like that. But imagine that you have Dynamics 365. You use that as your CRM, and let's just say you want to start pulling some data together about what customers buy the most from you, or which customers give you the most support tickets or warranty claims, or what products give you the most warranty claims. All you have to do in your natural language, you don't have to be a Dynamics expert, you don't need to know where anything is. You just have to say to Copilot, give me my top 5 customers that have purchased the most items from me in the last X months. Copilot, tell me what customers give me the most support tickets. Average it out by, I don't know, by user per week or something like that, or however you want to do it. The reporting element of it is absolutely massive. And again, it's going to be a little bit, based on how good your data is, because obviously, you put garbage in, you're going to get garbage out. But I'm assuming that everybody has been doing what they should be doing and using the right systems in the right place. And if not, there's someone you can handily talk to about that. But yeah, just whatever you can imagine or think up, or anything, whatever you can say. This is the big thing. Whatever you can say to this model, you can get it to do whatever you want. So, and you just have to use your own language and your own words. If I want to get a Power Automate report written, for example, I'm not a Power Automate expert. I've used it a little bit, but I haven't used it in anger. And I used ChatGPT the other day to help me create a Power Automate report. It was really useful, really, really handy. And just a standard user will be able to do that too. Just a Power Automate workflow for, I don't know, let's just say set forwarding on a calendar invite to another email address or to a shared mailbox. Literally, it will take 3 minutes. You ask Copilot for the workflow. It will tell you what to do, give you a set of instructions. You'll go and put it in, and it will work. Um, you know, it just absolutely blows my mind. This stuff with these large language models, AI, blows my mind. It is phenomenal. And the best bit is we all know how to speak English. It is one of the most common languages in the world, and we know how to speak it, and therefore we know how to get it to do what we want. All we're limited by is our imagination and our ability to prompt. So, just to wrap up, then, Copilot is going to be a game changing technology. It's artificial intelligence based on ChatGPT, but it is living and immersified in your Microsoft 365 data. Microsoft refer to that as grounding, and the tool being grounded in your data. I refer to it as context and providing the tool with a rich contextual background because I think it's easier to understand. Um, Copilot isn't yet available for everybody and it's operating in a closed beta, but Microsoft are gradually rolling that out to more and more businesses. And if you do get the opportunity to, I would thoroughly, thoroughly, thoroughly recommend that you take that opportunity up with both hands and just give it a go. Other than that, in terms of security concerns, well, yes, of course, there are going to be security concerns, but I am certain that Microsoft will have the answer to almost all of those. They're already indexing and looking through your document metadata, etc., to try and provide you with things like the suggested ends to sentences of emails, suggested documents before a Teams meeting, um, suggested calendar times for diary invites, all of that good stuff. So it's already there. It's already doing stuff. Turning Copilot on is just going to be another step, um, another step to enable productivity for your users. Um, that's about it from me. If anyone has any questions, please drop them in the comment. I'd be glad to field them. Thank you all very much for coming along and sticking around. Hopefully, didn't have the same technical issues that I had in my first live stream. And yeah, great to see everybody. And yeah, I will look forward to seeing you all again soon. Take care. Bye.